Well, I made a goof up right there. Oh boy, it's one of those days. So, hey everyone joining in now or later. This is another episode of Thru Autistic Eyes. I am your host, Christopher D. Casson, an autistic visual artist who's just rediscovering the world. And this time we're going to rediscover more of the spiritual world since it is October. So, and here with me is someone I met last year who is a medium and uh, there I go with the brain freezing. It's one of those days. I'm telling you.
You're good. You got this.
Yeah. So I just want the. There we go. Let's just get straight to it. Patty Horton, medium. So thank you so much for joining me for tonight.
Thank you for having me. It's always
Yeah.
nice to be with you.
Yes, and already we're getting people coming in. Hey, Erin.
Hi, Erin.
Yeah, she was also from the Chemo Buddies for Life group, I believe, and yeah, she's been working out with doing the live streams back and forth with the community there. So, but back to here. So tonight we're going to talk about inner truth. So let's get straight to the point. What is inner truth? How would you define that?
Oh, well, inner truth is different for everybody. It's where we feel at home and where we have an understanding of what feels good for us. What is truthful for us. Because our neighbor might be doing one thing, that's their thing. But if it doesn't feel authentic to us, it's a place of authenticity. That's a good word. If it doesn't feel authentic to us, then we have to return to our own authenticity as we allow or peacefully pass by those who aren't in the same vibration or they don't resonate where we're resonating. So it's about being in tune and in touch with your own authenticity and following that vibration. Because if we don't follow the vibration of our own authenticity, then we find ourselves off balance in life. And so a lot of things can happen when we're off balance. So if you can tune into that authentic part, then you'll understand what that inner truth means on a deeper level for yourself.
So let's go off of the vibration stuff because I know someone that's probably listening to this, maybe new to this whole concept, is like vibration. What is that? So let's talk about what exactly do we mean by vibration at this point.
Okay, so everything vibrates, right?
Mm-hmm.
Animals vibrate, plants vibrate, the planet vibrates, we vibrate. So we all vibrate at different
Like,
levels.
like
Absolutely. And so, our waves right now through the internet are vibrating. Our voices vibrate to sounds and numbers and letters. And so there's a vibration that we are all connected to, but each of our vibration is different and unique to us. And you'll find yourself when we're vibrating, moving towards people who are of the same essence as we are. And if you ever notice, maybe you might walk into a room and you'll feel like, oh my gosh, I don't belong here, or I'm really not liking the way that person's making me feel. It's because your vibration is different. You're each vibrating at a different rate, a different level, a different space. And
so it's like magnets in a way, like repelling off of each other.
absolutely. And so you're going to repel off one another when you're not vibrating in the same, they call it harmonic or harmony. So when we vibrate to a place of harmony. So like if you're in a room of people who you really love to be around and you get along well with, you're all vibrating at the same harmonic vibration. So your time together is always joyful and wonderful, and it's nice to be with those people. So vibration, you can tell where you're at. It's another place where authenticity shines through. It's your vibration. So to
You
understand
mean you mean like how you naturally are vibrating instead of how people expect you to be that ends up lowering it or
well, you know what? We can lower our vibration could get lowered because we might be empathic, for example, right? And so when we walk into a room, our vibration, we're tuning into everybody else's vibration. So all of a sudden our mood might change, and our, someone might make us feel like you're making me vibrate at a lower level. It's not that they're making you vibrate at a lower level. You're picking up on somebody else's vibration. So when you feel like that, you can say, hey, is this mine or someone else's? And if it's someone else's, please take it away. And so the next thing you know, universally, your team will step in, your authentic self will step forward, and it'll move that vibration away so that you can maintain your own center of gravity, your own center of peace. As you recognize, oh, it's that dude over there, or it's that girl over there. I'm not, their vibration is just kind of bringing me down. And when we recognize it, then our vibration can sustain in that energy. It's like finding a way to peacefully coexist within a world of many. And that's part of the magic of life, to find a way to peacefully coexist within a room of many, because all of our vibrations are so different all the time.
Yeah. So example, next impact of finale, very high vibration. You could just felt the love going into that.
Yes.
And for another example, me being here, feeling low vibrations because it wasn't a good day for me. So
And when you're feeling low vibration or you're feeling that way, sometimes it's best just to sit and to close your eyes and to put on a piece of music, even if it's like five minutes long, and just sitting there in the silence and listening to the music as it helps shift the vibration that you find yourself in. And just changing your breathing can take your vibration and bring it back up to where it needs to be. But sometimes we're just tired and our vibration is low. So if you're finding that you're tired, it might be why you're having a low vibrational day as well.
Let's see, tired, seem to catch myself holding my breath at times. So it's like a concoction for one hell of a day.
Exactly. And, with all the stress that's going on in the world, and everybody's so worried and walking around in fear, and is this person telling me the truth? And can I believe what I'm hearing on TV? And
is that person not wearing a mask?
Exactly. And so how do we feel about that? I would say that the world right now, everybody in the world is feeling quite judged.
Yeah.
You're not wearing a mask. I was somewhere with my family, and I was outside, and a gentleman walked by me, and we weren't anywhere where we needed to be to have the mask on. And he said to me, he looks at me, he goes, shame on you for not wearing a mask. And I said, no, it's not shame on me, sir. I'm respectful of your space, and I'm respectful of who you are, but he was ready to cast judgment on me because in that moment I didn't have a mask on when he thought that I should. So
yeah,
there's a lot of that going around in the world right now. So there's a lot of judgment happening. I mean, people are fighting with their friends, their families, their neighbors, and strangers.
like cats in a sack.
Even worse, yeah. We don't need, cats in a sack are no fun, right?
No.
And so there's all of this judgment going on, and it really brings down the vibration of the planet. It brings down the vibration of the people. And so everybody's getting affected by this low vibrational energy that you may be feeling today as well. So it could be coming at you like arrows from different places, judgment and fear and anxiety and depression and just being plain old tired. So all of those things can shift your vibration and bring you to a place where you don't feel so good.
Are you reading my mind?
I might be.
Oh boy. Medium and a psychic, which of course those two are very different things. So
You know what? I always say that the word psychic is so overused, and I like to use the word intuition because mediumistically, I can tap into the vibrations of your thoughts. I mean, I used to work with a gentleman, and I was an oiler on a rig, so I oiled on a crane. And he would sit over there, and I would look at him, and I said, "Why don't you just ask me already?" And he says, "Are you reading my mind?" And I could feel his thoughts, and I knew what he was thinking. And I would say, "Well, the answer is yes, if you just ask me the question." And so it used to freak him out, but I used to have a little bit of fun with it. But it's being, my intuition and my mediumistic abilities allow me to really be in tune with people's thoughts as well. It's like telepathy, we're exchanging thoughts without words. And that's always a super cool thing to do.
Yeah, so since we're talking about intuition, just to sneak in there before we get back to inner truth, people always talk about intuition, but how do you recognize it is intuition, not just, just random thoughts in your head? Is there some sort of distinct difference that you could tell?
Yeah, because you just know. You know what?
Hmm.
Like your intuition. I just know that that's the truth, or I just know that that's the way it's going to be, or I just know that this is going to happen. And
Hmm.
so intuitively, it's just this inner knowing that doesn't make you doubt. It's right on. I understand it. I get it. And so we recognize it as a piece of truth for ourselves. So our intuition is the place that says, yes, that's going to happen, or I already knew that was going to be, or I can feel this is going to
Hmm.
happen. And so those are all intuitive nudges. And so when we trust that
Okay.
intuition, we're guided a lot better through life.
So I've always heard about the whole higher self, and I'm guessing intuition comes from the higher self guiding you or something like that. So what is that this higher self or this higher plan of in spirituality that some people have heard?
You know what? A lot of people like to say, "Oh, my higher self told me," or "I'm guided by my higher self." I like
Mm,
to look at the higher self as your soul self. And so
mm,
what's really guiding us through life is the soul that's within this human body, right? And so it's our soul's voice that pushes us forward, our soul's voice that speaks intuitively to us. It's our soul's voice that guides us. So a lot of people recognize it as their higher self. I recognize it as the soul self,
mm.
because the soul came back here to help guide us. It came back here to help us navigate this world through the lessons and the blessings. So I really like to reword that a little bit for a level of my understanding, is the way that I like to teach people about it.
Mm. So I'm actually reading the comments here for those watching the podcast version later. It's like, oh, I have to say this is my absolute favorite way to communicate. I am bleh, tongue twisted, intuitively aligned with some incredible souls.
And that's wonderful, Erin. I love that you're connected to intuitive souls. And so, authentically, your authentic self is drawn to those who are the same vibration as you are. And
Mm,
so it goes, see how one dot connects to the next. It's a connection of dots, one after another, after another, after
mm,
another. And so, um, I always call it the simple path. One foot in front of the other leads us to the next step, to the next step, to the next step. And that's how, when we're in tune with our authentic self or that inner truth, all of these things connect with ease, because it's
mm.
simple and we're not forcing it, we're just allowing it.
Yeah, so we tend to think it's really complex when it's actually very simple. Is that right?
That's exactly right.
Mm,
See, we're humans, so we want to muck up the water and complicate things. And so we complicate them by trying to do too much. And the
mm,
beauty about spirituality and being in tune with our vibration and our authenticity and our inner voice and that intuition and our truth is surrendering to the ego, to the mind, of saying, no, you can't do that. That's wrong. This isn't right.
mm.
Doubt yourself. And when we allow the mind to come in and go out, we allow that authentic self to guide us. And so it really truly is very simple. But we as humans muck it up because we overthink things.
Yeah, it's like I'm saying, ease and flow, baby, ease and flow.
That's exactly right. It's the ease and the movement of it. And so when we surrender and say, you know what, I surrender to this, just show me the way. You know, one of the spiritual
Mm,
things that I've learned is when I'm tuning in or connecting with spirit, I'll say, teach me, show me, guide me, lead me. And
mm.
so I allow those words to open the doorway to take me to where it is I need to be. And that's one of the ways that we surrender to the ego's voice. We allow the ego to be part of our life because we need it, but we surrender to it so that we can allow the authenticity of our soul to rise to the surface and guide us through life in the most beautiful way.
Mm. Yeah, my mind's trying to race back, like in that classic rewind of, oh, I remember hearing this from this one Samadhi documentary thing. It's like the ego and, you know, basically thinking we think we are in a prison, but in actuality, we are the prison, so to speak. And
Well, yeah. You know, the ego, people think, oh, the ego is a horrible thing, or the ego should be quieted, or don't let the ego get in the way. So yeah, can our ego can we put our own foot in our own mouth? Of course we can if we're too much in our ego. But the ego is there to guide us, to teach us, to help us. And so the ego becomes my partner in life. So without my ego, my personality wouldn't have a place to shine. And so my personality becomes a part of my authenticity and the truth of who I am. So I love my ego. I allow it to be a part of me, but I don't allow it to run me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, basically, instead of the ego being your master, you're the master of your ego.
Yes. Very good, grasshopper.
I am so wise tonight.
You are very wise. You're always very wise. So I always love having spiritual conversations with you, Chris, because they're always fun.
Well, I don't know if I'm always wise, but I don't know. I just have my days. I just have my days. It's kind of going up. See, we're feeling the vibration going up right now.
See, and it's because you're allowing your authenticity to move you forward into tapping into that wisdom part of yourself, that wise part of yourself. And so when the wisdom bubbles to the surface, your vibration shifts and changes because you're speaking your truth. And so what is this whole conversation about tonight? Speaking our truth, tapping into our authentic truth. How do we connect to that truthful piece of ourself in a world that seems chaotic and out of whack?
And wants you to disconnect.
Exactly. And what do we do? And we just keep on hearing the same thing over and over. And when you know what they say about brainwashing, right? If someone continues to tell you the same thing over and over, sooner or later, you're going to begin to believe that about yourself or about situations, even though they're not true. And so that's what's happening with the world. That's what's happening with so many things right now. When people said 2020 is going to be my year, 2020 is everybody's year, but it's not the year that they thought it was going to be. 2021 is going to be the real year of change. 2021 is going to be the year where everybody has the opportunity to take a bite of that apple that they wanted to take a bite of this year. This year, unfortunately, the apple tree didn't give out the apples that it should have. We have to wait until 2021, and there'll be an apple for everybody to pick. So, but it depends on what you want to do with that apple. But 2020 is a year of preparation. It's a year of tearing down and breaking away old paradigms that no longer work for a world that we're moving into and moving forward to. So it's the old guard that's fighting to hold on to power. And so 2021 is where it's kind of like the genie in the bottle, and you rub it 3 times and the genie comes out and appears. 2021 is going to be that genie for everybody.
I'm kind of looking forward to it already, but I'm kind of waiting to see what the rest of 2020 brings me, because it suddenly came up with a bunch of surprises on me, like, hey, event photography, look, we're taking that away. I guess I have to try something else. And
it's all temporary.
It's pushing me.
It's all temporary. So whatever it is, if you really look, what has 2020 done for a lot of people? It's brought up old patterns of behavior, old ways that we used to think. It's kind of put everybody in a box, and we had to kind of look at the good and the bad of ourselves, the beauty and the ugly, the positive and the negative, and the angel and the devil. And so that's what 2020 has brought us. So 2020 has given us the opportunity to kind of look inside of ourselves and see what it is we need to change in here before we can go out and expect change in the world. So 2020 is a big year of change, but it's a big year of change on a personal level for a lot of people, even though it's painful.
You're describing me eerily.
Pardon me, my nose. But that's just kind of the way that it's going. It's been a painful year for a lot of people. It truly, truly has. But only the strong survive, as they say. What doesn't break you only makes you stronger.
Yeah, and at times I suddenly feel like I'm about to break, but
well, and when you do feel that way and you feel like you're about to break, put on that piece of music or close your eyes and connect to your breath. And that's all you have to do, because when we connect to our breath, we break away from that control that our mind is taking us down, you know, and this is terrible. I'm losing this. I've lost that. We really haven't lost anything. We've just been put on pause. So really look at 2020 as when the cassette player was put on pause. And as soon as we move into new energy, which the fall is going to open up for all of us, the pause button is going to be released and the music's going to continue to play. So wherever that pause button hit, it's a good time right now to visit that and say, okay, this was paused in my life. This was stalled in my life. How do I get this record to play again? Or is there a better record that I can put on? So you have to go back to that moment when things came to a halt for yourself. But next year is going to be phenomenal. I promise you. I promise you, as I sit here right now and speak to you, it is going to be a phenomenal year for everybody. It's going to be massive, but it depends on what you choose to do with it. You can either take the bull by the horns and you can go and run with it, or you can sit and you can watch everybody else. So there's two options that everybody has to take. And I say, run with the bulls.
Yeah, so of course that begins on our journey towards that inner truth. So where do you begin this journey in the first place to really start going into that inner truth for maybe someone that's viewing this for the first time and learning about the whole spirituality gigs and whatnot?
One of the best ways to do it is to first find out, what are you drawn to? What are your interests? What excites you? Where do you see yourself as going towards? And sitting there and marinating yourself in those thoughts and those feelings. And that's when you begin to manifest that truth for yourself as you move into the future. So it's really tapping inside of yourself and seeing the possibilities and the potential as you as a human being have to offer this world. And it's not so much as having to offer the world, what do you have to offer yourself? And another great way to get in touch is to just kind of sit outside in nature and sit with your thoughts and sit with your feelings and allow nature to, it's like it brushes away all of the cobwebs. It brushes away all of the smoke and the illusions, and it allows you to see things on another level. So going back into nature is another great way to start tapping into your truth. Go on a walk. Think about things. It's like walking a labyrinth. Have you ever walked a labyrinth? You know what a labyrinth is, right?
I believe so. Those ring of stones going in a circle towards the center.
Yeah, and then the stones take you back out. So
Yeah.
when you first step on the labyrinth, you go to the labyrinth and you want to leave your worries in the middle of the labyrinth. So when you start to enter the labyrinth, you begin to ask your questions and you ask for direction and for whatever specific issues you need. And by the time you get to the center of the labyrinth and you begin your journey back out, all of a sudden all the clarity is given and what it is and what it will take for you to achieve or overcome or get the answer to the question that you entered the labyrinth with. And by the time you get to the exit of the labyrinth, you have all the answers that you need. Remember, everything that we have need of is already inside of us. Every answer that we need, every truth that we need, every direction and guidance point that we need is inside of us. It's just learning how to tap into that place. And when we tap into that place, we're tapping into our solar plexus, which is the color of yellow. And so that's where your intuitive nudges and your soul's voice resides, in that beautiful bubble of yellow light. So if you really want to tap into that inner truth for yourself, it's sitting there and focusing on a yellow flower, or closing your eyes and seeing yourself surrounded in a yellow light, or exposing yourself and having little pieces of yellow around to remind you that that's where the voice of truth resides for you.
Okay, so I actually mentioned the sacral, which is chakra system, which is originated from Hinduism, actually. So,
Okay.
and speaking of that, this search for inner truth on the path of spirituality, does it have a similar connections with some of the major religions and not just spirituality in general, such as Christianity or Hinduism? Because when you mentioned the labyrinth, I knew about it because I actually took photographs of a labyrinth, and it was a Christian group that actually went through it and then back as well. So that's when I first learned about this kind of labyrinth, because usually you think of the Greek with the Minotaur with the bull head, that myth, but this was kind of something new to me. So is there any kind of a similar connection between the major religions along with spirituality in terms of, finding that inner truth? Because we tend to think of them as separate, especially with spirituality, which some people like to label as New Age, quotations.
Mm-hmm. Well, I say religion and spirituality are kissing cousins, right? And so when we're brought up, so we're born and maybe our parents are Catholic. We'll use Catholicism as an example. Maybe our parents are Catholic. And so we're brought into the Catholic Church. And what does that religion do for you? It begins to build a foundation underneath your feet. So it connects you to your understanding of God and what God is to you. So this foundation is built for you as a young child through religion. And so as we move through time and we get older, we might say, this religion just doesn't speak to me. Or like I said to my mom, when I do my confirmation in 8th grade, I will never step back into a Catholic church again, because I've already gotten everything that I have need of from it, but it's not serving me. It's not filling me. It's not quenching my spiritual thirst. And so I went out on a spiritual journey of my own. But now remember, at 8 years old, I was always connected to the spirit world, because that's when the spirit people began revealing themselves to me. So for me, it was just a natural progression, but I thank the religious upbringing because it helped me to understand who God was, and my spirituality helped me to elaborate on it on another level. So without one, for me, the other wouldn't have been so clear for me to see. So my pathway took me down Taoism. And what does Taoism do? It helps us connect to the flow and the rhythm of the natural world. And so, but the flow and the rhythm of the natural world always brings me back to my religion and my Catholicism as a child, because it's where the foundation was built for me to stand upon to grow that spiritual aspect of myself. So I say they go hand in hand. We should never discount one for another and look as one is bad and one is better. They both equally serve us in the same way. We just have to know when we're to move away from one and into the next. That's the way that I see it.
Yeah, I guess similar, because I started off, my earliest memory was actually Presbyterian, actually. So, and I remember, well, it was mainly more of the older people, and they expect kids to be completely silent during the main event, and what kid does? I mean, what kid does?
Nope.
So the most I get enjoyment was picking up all the little cups, which they usually have the whole wine and bread serving. They use grape juice because there were kids there. So, and that was probably one of the highlights for me, because I'm always hungry during it.
When I was in church, I used to look at the what do they call it? It was the pamphlet, and so there was this pamphlet that was
Right.
in the church, and the bulletin. And so I used to read the bulletin all the time. So I knew the bulletin from front to back. And instead of listening to necessarily reading what was in the Bible, because I went to CCD all the time, the pamphlet interested me more. And so there was always this, like you said, you were always hungry. So it was the grape juice and the bread that they gave you during church service. And for me, it was having the bulletin, because it became a distraction from me being bored or just not involved with what the man on the pulpit was telling me that I needed to follow his rules, or this was the only way. I'm going to say my spirituality helped me to recognize and understand that in the Bible, what Peter might say to what the scripture of Peter might say and the priest might be reading, it might mean something for him, but for me, I'm going to digest it in another way because it's going to mean something different for me. So when we're given religious aspects, and we're given biblical, I can't think of the words, the scripture. When we're given the scripture, we're all going to digest it in a different way. And that's the beauty of religion, because it allows us to digest the scripture in a way that serves me. Because the scripture is going to serve me differently than it will you.
Yeah, and for Wanda, she said, I counted the 2x4s on the ceiling during the services. I never thought about doing that.
Well, I just always dreaded if I had to go to confession, and my mom made me go to confession because I always had to sit with Father Malloy in the back, and Father Malloy used to tell me to go out and say these prayers. And so for me, I would sit there and it was bad because I kind of cheated, I cheated, and, some of them, like he told me to say a prayer. And I think there was a prayer that I never really understood, or I never really not memorized. So whenever he'd give me like 20 of them, and I would sit there going, I'm not going to say 20 of them. I don't even know how to say one of them. So my thing was, I didn't want to have to go back into the confessional booth, because I knew Father Malloy was going to hand down something horrible, and I'd have to sit there and pray about it.
Yeah, didn't have confessions, but eventually I just ended up moving on, just trying to figure out my own path, really. And eventually, I was reading a book on Buddhism in the cafe, and then suddenly, while I was thinking, okay, which path do I take? Is it like Advaita Vedanta in Hinduism? Is it like Buddhism, Taoism? And then suddenly this woman came up and told me, hey, there's a Buddhist group in nearby town that they have every Tuesday and Saturday. I'm like, well, there's my answer right there.
Exactly. So and that's the way that spirit serves us, right? And so we're always put in places when we're seeking out that answer, and something always comes our way. So as long as we're sitting at the table and we have a fork and a knife and a plate before us, we will always be fed what we have need of. So in those moments when we're always prepared to eat, the food was always given. So my father had just passed away.
Sorry to hear that.
Thanks. And I was with him by myself in the room, and I said, thank you, Dad, because you always taught me how to fish from a young child. And because of you, I have never gone hungry. And so that's what religion does for people. That's what spirituality does for people. And so as long as we know how to fish, we will never go hungry.
Yeah, and I believe that was the original symbol for Christianity until it switched to the cross, which was like a death machine, but okay.
Well, I don't know. I think the cross is just symbolic in different ways for different people.
Yeah, for me, it's like a big focus on how Jesus died rather focusing on how he lived, which I think it's a bit more important, but that's just me.
Yeah, and you know what? And I think the cross is the reminder of how Jesus lived. Even though they say Jesus died on the cross for your sins, if you really look at the cross, and I have one up in my office here, it reminds us how Jesus lived, and the life that he lived, and the things that he went through, and the sacrifices that he made, and all of the things that he presented us with, the opportunities to learn from. I just see the cross more as the life of Jesus than the death of Jesus. So for me, I guess I see it a little bit different. My Aunt Dorothy said that Jesus always loved the sinners more than he loved the saints.
Yeah. Yeah, instead of hanging out with royalty, he hanged around with prostitutes and lepers. So.
Because you know why? Because he's a great example for us today, right? Yep. So he hung around with the prostitutes and the lepers and the blind and the poor, right? And he taught us how not to judge. He taught us how to move beyond judgment and to see somebody for who they are, instead of
who you want them.
Right.
Instead of who you want them to be.
Right. So he saw who they were on the inside. I always taught my granddaughter from when she was a little tiny thing. Then I used to tell her, Hazel, it's not what's on the outside that counts. It's what's on the inside that counts the most, because the beauty of a person resides inside. And so that was one thing. When she got older, she had said that to somebody, and I thought, wow, she really paid attention, and it was a really important lesson because you're able to overlook maybe somebody who can't, might not be aesthetically pleasing, right? This to other people, but we don't see that. We see your heart. And so Jesus taught people how to see the heart of the person before you, not what's on the exterior, not the clothes that you're wearing, but the heart that shines from the inside out. Because you could be the most beautiful person on the outside, but if your heart or your inside isn't as beautiful as the outside just doesn't seem to radiate or vibrate at a level that makes you beautiful, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Nice exterior, but hey, low vibration. Go shoot, shoot, shoot. Away.
We all walk around worried about being judged, right?
Yeah.
Who hasn't worried about being judged? Who hasn't walked into a room and someone has said something that makes you feel bad about yourself? We've all walked in the light of judgment. And so if we think about the Christ or we think about Jesus, if we walked into a room and he was there, we would leave that room feeling filled instead of empty. Right? And so if we, I love talking about Jesus. I just do. So you got me on a subject now.
Yeah, I believe you were writing, like the last time we talked, which was last year, you were writing a book.
I did, and then my computer crashed, and then my book file got corrupt, and so I have now the book on my iPad and a different file, and have to figure out how to get it back over to my computer so I can work on the final edits. But yes, I had the whole book, and the whole book went corrupt. So maybe the timing was off for the book, but I do have a file. I just don't know how to move it over.
Okay, so I want to get through comments because Aaron says, yeah, those were people who really need those tender mercies within their struggles, and only he truly knows our hearts.
Absolutely. And that's the truth, because he knows our hearts. And so what does he teach us in that symbol of the cross? To look inside of a person. How do they look on the inside? What do they have to offer this world? What wisdom am I going to get by sitting with Christopher Casson here tonight? What kind of beauty is he going to leave me with when I'm done being on his podcast? What am I going to take away and be like, that really sticks with me. That really, that really shows me the depth of who he is, and that's what I look for in a person. I always say a person should be able to look you in your eyes when you talk. If I have people who...
Well, for me, it might be a bit of trouble with autism being able to look at someone.
I know, but people will always tell me that I'm too intense because they can't handle looking at me in the eyes. Because in a room, I'll look you in your eyes and I'll speak to you, because the window to your soul is through the eyes, as I see it. So when I look into your eyes, I'm really listening to you. Oh, hi, Gail.
Yep, and she's thanking you for those reminders. And of course, we have Andrea saying, so great for both of your inner beauty and your radiant light.
Oh, Andrea, you're beautiful too.
Yeah, I actually met her at the march in Utah, actually.
Yeah.
She was there along with Aaron.
Yeah, I got goosebumps now.
When we step into unconditional love, there is no room for judgments.
I wrote a book on unconditional love. I channeled it during a Super Bowl. And, how do we heal our life? We heal our life through unconditional love. How do we heal our relationships? We heal our relationships through unconditional love, because unconditional love paves the way for us to let go, receive, heal, change, and move forward in our lives. So it's huge. So
would you consider unconditional love being our inner truth, that we are all compassion from the start?
I would say that unconditional love is another place of where the truth where the truth inside of us resides. Because when we're loving without conditions, or when I accept you, Christopher, without conditions, I'm accepting you as your authentic self without judgment or preconceived notions. And so that is a truth that all of us can speak. But so many have gotten far away from it because people might be like, oh, I might want something from Patty. And,
Or I want you to be this certain way because, politics. And guess what? Some family members are acting like.
Or let me manipulate you into getting what I want,
Yeah.
And then when I manipulate you into getting what I want, I'm going to leave you at the doorway and you're going to be wondering where I've gone to.
Yeah. And I guess for me, in terms of the whole good versus evil, and someone just came up from, just reading more on Buddhism and the Buddha, and it seems more like it's not good versus evil, but convenient versus inconvenience. And that's the reality of things.
That is the reality of things. It's, sometimes we are inconvenienced or we have to do things that we don't want to do. And it is like, why do I have to do this or why do I have to do that? And sometimes, we're selfish, we're human. And we're lazy and we just don't have the time and we just don't feel like it. But that's just part of being human. But it doesn't take away from the beauty that we are. We all have our human moments. So I would say that's just having your human moment in your spiritual life.
Yeah, and Aaron said, "Oh, what an amazing gift." I'm trying to remember where she said that, but that comes up with another thing I want to talk about is just finding out you're going through your inner truth. So, of course, you may have some sort of divine gift. So how would you classify something as a divine gift and not just something that they just simply have a talent in?
You know what? I say that, everybody has a divine gift and they have to find that for themselves. They have to kind of, get that wheel turning and build off of those spokes because we all have a hub inside of us. And so the hub, let's call the hub our inner truth. And so we have this inner truth and this inner knowing about ourselves, and maybe somebody says, I'm a healer. Let's use that as an example. So here you have this healer and this healer has this inner hub. So all of a sudden this spoke comes off of it and it's a spoke of mediumship. So maybe when that person is doing their healing work, they're divinely given information about this person that comes through them mediumistically, right? And so off of that inner truth of being a healer, we have a spoke and there's a spoke of mediumship. And then there's another spoke that comes off of that healer. And as that healer's working with people, there's this deep place of compassion that this healer has for people. So all of a sudden this person is saw as, all full of compassion and love for other people. And it just becomes another spoke off of that hub. So that hub just becomes kind of like the mainstay of who you are. But there's all these other little gifts that create the wheel because the wheel can't be created and fully formed without the spokes to support that turning.
I feel like mine is like misshapen or something.
No, it's not. You know what, Christopher? You're an artist, right?
Yeah.
So here you are. And so you're this artist. And so this artist is the hub of you. And so what is your art taught you? So all of a sudden the spoke comes off. And as you're sitting there and you're doing your painting, because we've all watched you paint, and so divinely you're painting these beautiful pictures and you know what colors to put. And spiritually, people are watching this painting evolve before our eyes, right? And so a spoke of you comes off and you become this beautiful painter who touches people on a spiritual level. And people want to buy that art because it means something to them on the inside. Then there's another hub that comes off of you, and it's this photographer that goes out and photographs the world. And then he brings his photographs back and he does all of these beautiful things with these photographs, like creates calendars and puts them on his website or makes prints for people to enjoy as we see life through your eyes. And so you have to see all of the spokes that come off of this hub of who you are, because you're more than just an artist. Your art is bigger than who you are. And so its expression is shared in different ways. When you go to nature and all of a sudden you're bringing back that nature, it's another spoke of your artistic view or vision of life. So see, you're more than just one thing. You're bigger than just that artist. I'm bigger than just this medium. I'm bigger than just this healer. I'm bigger than just this person.
And I think Scott is agreeing with you there. It's not misshapen.
That's right, Scott. Hi, Scott. Your wheel's definitely not misshapen. And so your wheel is serving you in a way that helps you move through life with ease and with joy and with love and with compassion and with heart. And so the people that know you are better off than they were the day before they met you.
I'm tasting mac and cheese is misshapen. Really? We going there? Oh, boy.
So, and this podcast is another piece of your artistry. It's another piece of your vision. So see?
Like the artistry of my voice in this case.
Yes, and look at now, and so through 2020, I've noticed your hair has gotten quite long, right?
Yeah, it's only going to get longer by the time the next Unstoppable gets here, because someone from Chemo Buddies challenged me, oh, I'll get a wig that's done my waist. I'm like, okay, I'm going to grow it before you get to that. So, well, then I wanted to donate my hair anyway. So.
Exactly. I was just going to say you're going to cut it and you're going to donate it. So you didn't let me get there yet. I already see you growing it, you're cutting it, and you're going to donate it. So that's the giving piece of you and the giving part of you. We're more than one thing, but when people say I'm the jack of all trades and the master of none, that can be very true. But we should find something that we can master, because we all came back here to be the master of something. And so we can have many traits and many trades, but we have to find out, what are we the master of? Because our mastery is what comes back here and sustains that inner authentic truth of ourselves. And so that's where we become of service to other people. And so all human beings are here to be of service to other people. And so we just have to find out what's that doorway of service for us? How do we open up that doorway to service? And what gives us a place of feeling complete by doing that work? And so when I do readings and when I mentor people, when I help people understand who they are on a spiritual level, and I help guide them to their own mastery, that brings me such great joy inside of me, because I get to watch them blossom as they come into their own. And I get to watch the excitement on the other side of the table as they realize that they were doing something all along. They just needed a few tools to get there. So yeah.
A few little tweaks.
Yeah.
And this comment is very long. It's covering our faces, but yeah.
Okay.
I'm indeed very happy for the great help that Dr. Omozoji rendered to me. I am here to give my testimony about a doctor who helped me in life. I and my wife was infected with herpes simplex virus last 4 years ago. We went to many hospitals for cure, but there was no solution until one fateful day we saw a blog where the doctor cured a woman who was also had herpes affected. Me and my wife, decided to contact him, and which we did. He asked us to buy some items. Unfailingly, we sent him, and it kind of cut off there. So, yeah.
And so there are those moments. I'm grateful to my teacher, Miss Jackie. I talk about her often. I consider myself one of the luckiest people in life to have had her as a teacher that helped to open me up to who I was on a deeper level of spirituality. She helped me open up to really explore all of these different spokes that came off of the hub of me. And so that's what life is about. And so we have those teachers or those people who have helped us that we're grateful to, and I always say, when I do my readings and I'm doing mediumship, I'm just the detached observer of somebody else's life. So I just give you the information, and I'm not emotionally attached to it. I do it in a way as a service to you, and what you do with that information is completely up to you. Hi, Karen. Yes, our Miss Jackie. It's Karen. I met Karen. You saw her come up. Karen is somebody that I met years ago, and we sat in circle together. And so she knows I have goosebumps now talking about Jackie. And
is that the one where you had that ball of light next to you in that one video or photo? Or
the ball of light? I'm trying to think.
It was last year. It was during like one of your medium sessions that you posted a photo because you were excited about it?
No, I'm not sure. You know what I posted? No, it wouldn't have been last year, but I only have one picture of Jackie, and a friend of mine sent it
Hmm.
to me because she didn't like to be photographed. Jackie wanted to do her work without a spotlight shined upon her.
Hmm.
So, the most wonderful, amazing woman. So people like Karen and myself, we become spotlights, or what do you call those things? I can't think of a word I want to use. Satellites of Miss Jackie's
Hmm.
teaching. So we become satellites of her wisdom, yet we allow our own wisdom to be coupled with hers. And so we get to share that.
Yeah, and the question here, do you do your readings online?
I do them online. I do them on the phone. I can answer. I do service where people can send me a question, and I'll type the question out, and I just sit with spirit and I listen and I send you the information. So I do them online, video, phone, in person, just like every other medium. Yes.
Yeah. And let's see, you are perfectly you. You are incredible, inspiring more than you possibly can imagine. Well, some days I feel like I'm at my lowest, where it feels like I'm feeling the least like myself, and then there's like times like going through this where I'm feeling more and more like myself. So I guess you could say that's me connecting more to my inner truth now, or
Well, your vibration shifted, right? And
yeah.
so your vibration shifted because you're in a lot. This conversation, my vibration and your vibration, are in authentic harmony with one another, which elevates us both.
Hmm.
And so that's the beauty of vibration, of harmony, of inner truth, because like attracts like, and
Hmm.
like sustains like, and like elevates like. So
Hmm. And it's not like positive towards the negative part of the batteries kind of thing. It's more.
no. And what else? Laughter. Laughter is another great way to shift and change your vibration, right? When you start laughing, you feel better. When you
Ha
smile, you feel
ha
better.
ha ha. Ha. Oh, man.
Exactly. Exactly. So,
Yeah, I still remember that laughter yoga with the Chemo Buddies group with the one guest. So it was like it's like a yoga for everything now. It's like beer yoga. There's like yoga with animals or whatever it is. It's just
yeah, yoga's very universal. So they do a
hmm.
lot of different things with yoga for sure.
Yeah. Let's see. It has been a pleasure to meet you here. Thanks,
Oh,
Cheryl.
hi, Cheryl. That's my sister-in-law, Cheryl.
Hey there. Let's see. It's like there is laughter yoga. Yes.
She would know.
Yes. Yeah. We're kind of getting
You,
down.
Christopher, if you could say one thing that, I'm going to ask you a question.
Goat yoga.
Go yoga, yeah. If you could say one thing about yourself, or say one thing to people that you feel would inspire them, what would it be? What would you be able to, if this was your final word that you were going to leave the planet with, what would your parting words of wisdom be to the world? What would your inner truth statement be?
Well, now my brain is shutting down overthinking it.
What do we, it's our parting words that we share with people, that stick with them. It's things that we say, or our words of wisdom that we impart upon them, that people carry as little treasures in their heart for the rest of their lives, even though we're going to be here tomorrow and we're going to be here next year. And but it's like little gems and little pieces of ourselves that we gift to other people so that they can keep it in their pocket and move through life, and fall back on it. So, we all have those moments where we teach other people things, and it's through our own wisdom that we do so. So, what's your wisdom?
it's like trying to come through, and then the mind's like, hold on, pay a toll.
That's okay. We'll just let it come. But it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's I always say one thing that always stuck with me when I was with Jackie. So I'll give you some Jackie's wisdom.
Mhm.
So I forget, we were talking about something, and we were in circle, and somebody had said that they had felt sorry for somebody else, and Jackie said, never feel sorry for another person, because when you feel sorry for somebody else, that means that you're placing yourself above them. Always have compassion for another person, because when you have compassion for them, that puts you equal with them. And so I always, whenever I hear or somebody say, I feel sorry for somebody else, I'll always say to them, instead of feeling sorry for them, have compassion for them. Because when you have compassion for them, then you help to elevate their soul, to be equal with your own. But when you feel sorry for someone, that means that you're elevating or putting yourself above them. And that wisdom was one of the things that Jackie left me with that I always loved. So I always teach about compassion, because compassion is the greatest gift that we can give to another person. Feeling compassion for somebody is feeling love for them. And so compassion comes from a place of unconditional love that resides within inside of us. So I love when I love to always share that bit of wisdom from Jackie, because it meant so much to me when I heard her explain it. And I watched, because in circle, there were a lot of people that would sit there, and I watched how the other person received it. And so not only the other person received it, because we've all said, "Oh God, I feel sorry for that person," right? But when she explained it, that how compassion serves the world better than feeling sorry for somebody else, it really helped me to understand. Empathy and compassion are life changing. Yes, they are. It helped me to understand that, you know, compassion served each of us. Compassion not only served me having compassion for that person, but compassion served them, because I was sustaining them with a form of energy or giving them some vibration, a vibrational shift, if that makes sense.
Hmm. Okay.
So, yeah.
So yeah, you're waiting for me to answer the question right now.
Well, I just, you don't,
Yeah.
don't hit. I just was, it might be
Well,
just
something
something
did.
that, did you got one?
Something did kind of come up.
Let's,
It's like
let's hear it. What do you got?
you're infinitely more than your mind could ever process.
Very nice. And so, and that's the truth, right? We're more than that hub. So you took more than that hub and all of those spokes. Yes, you are bigger than just one thing. You are more than just one idea of yourself. And so I love that. Thank you for sharing that. See? Boom.
Yeah.
You have to type that up now and put it in. You have to type that
Yeah,
up
you
and
have to
put it.
type it up in the side here. It's like,
No, and put it in, yeah, and then put it in front of one of your beautiful pictures from Cambodia.
yeah, I'm typing it right now because I.
And you can put it in your calendar that you're going to make and that you're going to sell.
Yeah, you're already kind of advertising me and quite lots, but let's get to talk about how people can contact you since we're getting down to the hour. So how can people contact you to?
Well, they can go to mediumpattyhorton.com, and it'll connect you to my website, which is nriconnections.com. But this is an easier way to get there.
Mhm.
And you can see all the services that I have to offer. You can connect with me on Facebook under Patty Horton, or my page, Medium Patty Horton, NRI Connections. You can find the link on my Facebook page. And those are the ways that you can connect with me. It's simple.
Let's see. Brought so much depth and understanding into my awareness. Well, we both kind of did tonight. So
Aaron, that's so nice of you.
yeah, beautiful mic drop, great wisdom. I want to see your art.
Yes, he has great art, Cheryl. He has
Yeah,
great art.
I would have to go to the wall here. It's like
He has great art. Oh, he's going to come back show you. It's always fun to be on podcast with
I
Christopher
just
Casson.
hold on. Whoop. See, this is why I need to get wireless earbuds. Not be attached to this laptop.
Yeah, well, you know me. The first time I was on your show and I didn't have earbuds, remember that?
Yeah,
Fiasco, and then I left you for like 3 or 4 minutes to have to track them down.
yeah. So right now, am I getting this up right? But yeah, this is for sale on my website already. So
See, and that's almost like, when I see that, it reminds me a little of the soul cards that I teach people how to use. So I teach people, it's called Soul Card Wisdom, but even by looking at that, it can mean so many different things for so many different people.
yeah, for me, it was what you mentioned before with going out in nature and just feeling that release. So this is kind of like me liking to go to the like a beach, which I'm missing the ocean already. But I don't know, something about the ocean winds that just seem to soothe.
Right. And then you can see that, you can see the balance, right? And so there's
Yeah.
the earth and the water, and then you have the elements, and you have the air, and you have, the wind. And so you're bringing in all the elements of life. And so it's showing a balance. And there's so much in that painting that can really speak to somebody who would purchase that piece. So it's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. I just need to put it down and make sure it doesn't break because I placed it down wrong. So, do you have a website? Yeah, actually, we'll get to that. So, I do have social media, of course, for Thru Autistic Eyes Official. It's Thru Autistic Eyes Official on Facebook and Instagram, and of course, we do have Patreon in case you want to, help give support, and of course, ChristopherCasson.com. Let's see. Awesome, beautiful, just beautiful. I subscribe to your podcast. Hey, thank you. And yeah, we're on the major platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc. And I would love to have one on my wall. Well, I do have in this online store like an option for a custom made one. So let's see.
There you go.
Yep, there you go. And of
You know,
course, we can't forget about Patty Horton here. So back up UL.
I just love to come here and just have conversation. So I'm really grateful that you had me on here again. And it's always fun to talk to you because the subjects that we talk about are deep and they're meaningful, and they just expand out there. And the talk about vibration today was a lot of fun. So being able to, watch you I know I should.
The suggestion of you should start a podcast. This spiritual Patty podcast. You can work on a name.
Yeah, I could work out a name. I'll just call it. I already have a name. I'll call it the Practical Seer. So then I'll be able to really talk about all things spiritual. Because what's a seer anyway? A seer is somebody who can see beyond the veil. And so see things about people's lives and see things about the world. And so before we leave, though, I know we're pushing past the hour, but I just want to say, as we move through the rest of this year, when we get into the fall, people are going to begin to feel the shift in energy and the shift in the change. And so when you get into next year, there's going to be a great opportunity for many people to jump onto the bandwagon and to do something great. So what you wanted to do this year was put on hold temporarily, but it was put on hold because so many people really needed to look inside of themselves to see what needed to change in order to implement the new that they desire to bring into the world. So next year is going to be a phenomenal year, but there'll still be people that will be sitting on the sideline, but there'll be more people that won't. So next year is the real year of change. This year was the year of shakeup. And so this was the year for shakeup on a multitude of levels. We're talking worldwide. And so as the world has been shook to its core, it was done so for a reason. So as the spirit world says, enjoy your rest while you can today, because by the time we get into the next year, you're going to be asking for a few days off.
Yeah, I wish I could have a few days off, but I got work later tonight because I got the night shift.
Well, you know what? I'm sorry, that you have to work tonight, Christopher.
But yeah, in some weird way, it was enjoyable because it feels like I'm actually making some sort of progress, and even if it seems not as much, but hey,
Hey, you know what?
step.
You got to do what you got to do. And next year, people will have more flexibility to really come into their own.
Mm,
It's going to be, when they say they're showing me the spring flowers. So, springtime, when we get into the springtime of next year, things are going to be blossoming for a lot of people. So, look for spring to be
mm,
very significant. Everybody who's sitting out there, what you do from today. Thanks, Todd. What you do with today and what you heard here tonight, and doing a reflection on this past year. By the time you get to spring, you'll be able to put things into motion that you wanted to put into motion this year. So look
mm.
for spring to be significant of next year. That's when it all starts.
And another thank you from Aaron.
Oh, thanks, Aaron. It was very nice to meet you.
Yeah. Yep. And I refuse to sit on the sidelines.
We know you, Cheryl. I know you won't sit on the sidelines. Cheryl's. Oh, hi, Karen. It was so good to see you again too. It really, really, and truly was.
Love the night shift. High at night. Is that a
I don't like the night
hamster?
shift. I don't like the night shift. So forget it. Yeah,
Kids
kids
back
will be
in
back in
school.
school.
Awesome
Kids will,
podcast. Yep.
mhm.
Thanks, Wanda.
We're in a 5 year. So next year's a 5 year. So a 5 year is about being
Mm,
curious, adaptable, and social. But on the opposite side of the spectrum, it's non-committal, unreliable, and directionless. So
mm,
you can go one of two ways next year. But the opportunity for you to be adaptable and social and curious and opening up doors is huge. So being in a 5 year next year is way better than being in this 4 year. But we had the twos backing up, so we had the power of two back to back.
Yeah, and I believe my life path number is 2.
Thanks, Gail. Yeah, your life path is a number two.
Yeah, I looked it up because I was curious. What's a life path
You
number
know,
thing? So I looked it up and saw it was 2 after
two
adding it up.
twos are partnership and balance, and then on the opposite side is opposition and conflict. And so 2020 had two twos, and it really double whammied that opposition and conflict, right? And so, but it goes to the
Oh, that was
four.
my year.
And it goes to the four, which 2 + 2 = 4. And then, because I wrote some notes down, and it means rigid, not a team player. There's no give and take. So many things to learn from a 4 year, and there was no give and take. People were not giving. You know what I mean? It was
Mm,
push and pull.
my
Um,
way or the highway.
a lot of selfishness. A lot. 4 years are a lot of work, but we had those twos, and we had two and two, and
Mm,
so the opposition and the conflict was so apparent, and we're seeing it everywhere, and so
mm.
that's what's driving this. We're driven on the duality side. Your life path is 4, Cheryl. We're driven on the duality side of energy, right? And so all
Mm,
energy has a duality to it. And so the number two even has a duality to it. On the positive side for a two, you have partnership and balance, right?
mm.
But on the other side of the coin, you have the opposition and conflict. And I believe the opposition and conflict was really double whammy. It was really put into motion, but it needed to be seen as it brought it into a 4 year.
Mm.
So just be glad this year's going to be over here soon. Next year's going to be great. I can't wait. I can't wait.
Yeah, my darker side came out in 2020, Shell said.
Yeah, Cheryl, all of our darker sides came out in 2020, no matter who we were, where we stand, or how we feel. Um, the truth came out of everybody, and the problem is there was no give and take. People don't want to look in the middle. They're only black or white, the color black or white, or we're on the right or we're on the left, or the yin or the yang. Nobody's going into the gray matter. And if we don't get into the gray matter, we're going to stay in that conflict, and that's the problem. So I'm all for swimming in the gray water.
Yeah, same here. I prefer the independent side.
Yeah. So it should be interesting. But I just wanted to leave you with that.
Yeah,
A little bit of
thank you for that.
wisdom, a little bit of
A
spirituality at the end.
little bit of ending wisdom, like final wisdom.
Yeah,
There
final
we go.
wisdom, right?
Final
So,
wisdom.
yeah, the number five also equals personal freedom and the expression of that personal freedom. So just think about that, especially for you, Christopher, right?
Mm,
And so next year you'll have the expression of that personal freedom, and you'll be able to express it in ways that you think that a door might have shut on you or things aren't going your way, but the opportunity to share that freedom of expression will be even greater for you next year. So
mm.
only great things are coming your way. You'll see.
I just need to prep up for it.
Yeah, you know what? Take time now while you have you have a few months here. Get your ducks in a row.
Yep.
Get your plan.
Starting
It's
with photography.
Yeah, and if that's where your heart is, and that's where you want to go, and that's where you want to take your artism, then really start to figure out how you want to make that blossom. But they said in a new way. It's kind of like taking something old and making it new again. So it's kind of um, looking at, I have a square object in my hand. How do I make this square look like an even better square, an even bigger square, an even cooler square?
Okay.
So that's it. Yeah, I could talk all night.
Yeah, but unfortunately, we're already going past the hour. So I
I
just want
know.
to thank you so much for joining me. It was a pleasure doing this with you tonight.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
And definitely thank you for everyone that has joined in, either live or listening in on the podcast version or just rewatching this in a replay. So this is Christopher D. Casson again, signing off. Thank you, and hopefully you'll join us next time. So take care.
Bye, everyone.